Have you ever sat in a completely quiet room in the dead of night, enveloped in the heavy stillness of the dark, and wondered about the very nature of the chair supporting your weight or the solid floor resting beneath your feet? We move through our brief, beautiful human lives with a profound and necessary sense of certainty. We feel the firm, unyielding ground when we walk. We trust, with every fiber of our being, that when we gently close our eyes to sleep, the world around us remains exactly as we left it, anchored in an objective reality that does not depend on our gaze to exist. It is a deeply comforting thought, a foundational illusion that allows our minds to navigate the overwhelming complexities of our daily existence without collapsing under the weight of existential dread. But what if that peaceful, quiet stillness of your room is hiding a reality so bizarre, so fundamentally counterintuitive, that it challenges everything humanity has ever believed about the cosmos and our humble place within it? What if the universe is not just a giant, ticking clockwork machine, but something far more mysterious, far more interactive, and perhaps something that is quietly waiting for you to look at it? Before we journey further into this profound and ancient mystery together, I want to take a gentle moment to introduce myself. I am Theodore, the researcher, your quiet guide through the vast and endless mysteries of our cosmos. I have noticed that 71% of the beautiful, curious minds who watch these contemplative journeys have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find a sense of peace, comfort, and wonder in these gentle explorations of the universe, please consider subscribing. It helps our community of cosmic explorers grow, and it allows us to continue wondering at the ancient stars together, seeking solace in the silence of space. Now, take a deep, slow breath. Let the worries of your day drift away, and let us return to the quiet dark and the breathtaking secrets it has been hiding since the dawn of time. When you look up at the night sky from a quiet, dark location, you are witnessing an illusion of stillness. You see the ancient light of distant stars, gentle photons that have traveled across the vast, freezing void of intergalactic space for millions, sometimes billions of years, just to end their infinite journey softly against the retina of your eye. For most of human history, scientists and philosophers looked at those same stars and believed that the universe was absolute, predictable, and entirely separate from the mind that perceives it. Sir Isaac Newton gave us a brilliant mathematical framework that painted the cosmos as an intricate, perfect machine governed by unbreakable laws of cause and effect. In that classical vision of reality, it was supreme intelligence knew the precise position and momentum of every single particle in the universe at any given moment. It could perfectly calculate the entire unfurling future and perfectly reconstruct the entire forgotten past. It was a universe of absolute certainty. It was a cosmos where massive galaxies, burning stars, and silent planets existed in a state of objective permanence, completely indifferent to whether any conscious being was there to witness their grand ballet. Albert Einstein himself found deep comfort in this objective reality, once famously asking a colleague if he truly believed the moon only existed when someone was looking at it. It seems like a simple, almost absurd question rooted in common sense. But as the 20th century dawned, our scientific instruments grew incredibly precise, allowing us to peer deeper into the microscopic heart of matter than ever before. What we found there did not confirm our comforting classical worldview. Instead, it dissolved it into something that feels almost ghostly. Consider the sheer, staggering emptiness of the physical world that surrounds you right now. If you were to take a single atom from the screen you're looking at and magnify it until its dense central nucleus was the size of a small glass marble sitting exactly in the middle of a massive, empty football stadium. The electrons orbiting that nucleus would be like tiny, invisible gnats buzzing around the highest, farthest seats in the grandstands. Everything in between that tiny marble and those distant, frantic gnats is completely, utterly empty space. Because you are made of atoms, and the Earth is made of atoms, and the distant, swirling galaxies are made of atoms, it means that you, the planet, and the entire infinite cosmos are mathematically composed of 99.999999% empty space. The reassuring feeling of solidity you experience, the firm pressure of the chair against your back, the feeling of a loved one's hand in yours. None of this is solid matter touching solid matter. It is nothing more than the invisible, silent repulsion of electromagnetic fields pushing against each other in the dark. We are essentially collections of empty space interacting with other collections of empty space, navigating a universe that is almost entirely composed of nothingness. Yet, out of this profound and silent nothingness, the rich, vibrant tapestry of reality emerges. How is this possible? This is where the quiet mystery of the cosmos deepens into a revelation that borders on the terrifying, not terrifying in a way that causes physical fear, but terrifying in its absolute demolition of our intuitive understanding of existence. In the early decades of the 20th century, brilliant physicists began to conduct a series of meticulous experiments that would forever shatter the Newtonian clockwork universe. They discovered that when you isolate the fundamental, primordial building blocks of reality, the delicate photons of light, the energetic electrons that dance around atomic nuclei, they simply do not behave like solid little objects or predictable billiard balls. Instead, when they are left entirely alone, unobserved and undisturbed by the outside world, they exist in a state of pure, undefined potential. They exist as ethereal waves of probability, spreading out through the vastness of space and time, representing not a single, concrete reality, but a vast, infinite multitude of possible realities, all occurring simultaneously in a state of quiet suspension. This is the beating, paradoxical heart of quantum theory, a realm where a single particle can theoretically be in two places at the exact same moment, where it can pass through solid barriers as if they were made of mist through quantum tunneling, and where particles can become intimately entangled, reacting instantly to each other's state across millions of light years of empty space, faster than the speed of light itself. But the most astonishing, the most deeply unsettling discovery of all, the discovery that forces us to question the very nature of what some might call God, revolves entirely around the simple act of observation. Through a beautiful, elegant, and haunting scientific setup known as the double-slit experiment, researchers found that these fundamental particles remain in their ghostly, undefined state of pure potential, a blurry wave of multiple, overlapping possibilities, right up until the exact precise fraction of a second that a conscious observer or a measuring device attempts to look at them. The mere act of seeking information, the simple presence of an observer attempting to measure the particle's path, forces the physical universe to make a definitive choice. In an instant, the infinite wave of possibilities collapses into a single, concrete reality. The ghostly wave vanishes, and the particle suddenly acquires a specific, localized position, acting exactly like a solid piece of matter, almost as if it implicitly knows it is being watched. This profound revelation sent intellectual shockwaves through the global scientific community that are still echoing today. It mathematically suggested a universe that is not a cold, dead, and objective stage upon which we merely play our parts, but rather a dynamic, participatory universe that is intimately, inextricably bound to the presence of observation itself. If the fundamental building blocks of reality only take on a definite, physical form when they are observed or measured, what does that incredibly strange fact say about the vast, silent epochs of cosmic history that unfolded over billions of years before any conscious eyes opened to see the ancient light? If unobserved matter exists only as a haze of probability, who or what was observing the primordial universe to collapse it into the specific, majestic reality we inhabit today? This forces us to confront a terrifying and awe-inspiring concept: the necessity of a universal observer. Some brilliant minds have looked at these quantum equations and seen the mathematical fingerprint of a cosmic consciousness, an ever-present gaze that sustains the fabric of reality simply by observing it. When we peel back the layers of the universe, moving past the massive galaxy clusters, past the swirling stellar nurseries, down past the molecules and atoms, we do not find tiny, solid gears turning in the dark. We find a shimmering, uncertain web of probabilities that seems to require the act of knowing to become real. As you sit here, breathing quietly, listening to these words, your very consciousness might be an integral, necessary component of the cosmos, playing a fundamental role in anchoring the physical world into being. The universe is not just out there, separate from you. It is interwoven with your awareness. You are not a stranger looking at the cosmos from the outside. As the great Carl Sagan beautifully articulated, we are a way for the cosmos to know itself. But quantum theory suggests something even deeper. We might be a way for the cosmos to actually exist. In our next chapter, we will gently dive deeper into the mechanics of this eerie quantum collapse, exploring how a single photon of light can rewrite its own history backwards in time, challenging our most basic understanding of past, present, and future. Imagine, for a quiet moment, the gentle ticking of an old wooden clock resting softly in the corner of your dimly lit room. We have always perceived time as a steady, unbreakable river, a continuous and silent current flowing relentlessly in one single direction. From the ancient, forgotten past, through the brief spark of the present moment, and endlessly onward into the vast, unwritten ocean of the future, time seems completely absolute and undeniable. We carry our memories like precious stones carefully collected along the banks of this cosmic river, feeling absolutely confident that the past is a solid landscape permanently carved into the bedrock of physical reality. It is a deeply comforting thought, a necessary anchor that gives our brief human lives a sense of narrative structure and profound meaning against the backdrop of a chaotic world. But as we drift deeper into the profound mysteries of the quantum universe, leaving behind the safe shores of classical physics, this intuitive flow of time begins to mysteriously fracture and dissolve, revealing a bizarre cosmic architecture far stranger and more terrifyingly beautiful than our human minds were evolved to easily comprehend. The cosmos, it seems, does not share our limited human understanding of past, present, and future. In the freezing silence of the microscopic world, and stretching across the infinite chasms of deep intergalactic space, time is not a rigid arrow flying blindly forward. It is, instead, a flexible, shimmering tapestry of mathematical probabilities, waiting patiently in the dark for a conscious mind to gently weave it into a concrete, physical existence. Before we uncover exactly how the universe manages the impossible feat of reaching backward through the thick mists of time, I want to take a brief, gentle moment to remind you that I am Theodore, the researcher, your quiet companion on this infinite journey through the profound dark. I have noticed, with a sense of gentle wonder, that 71% of the beautiful, curious minds who watch these peaceful cosmic explorations have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find comfort, solace, and a sense of deep existential wonder in these quiet, meditative bedtime stories about the universe, please consider gently clicking that subscribe button, as it helps our little community of stargazers grow and allows us to continue wondering together at the mysteries of the night sky. Now, take a slow, deep breath. Let the heavy burdens of your day melt away into nothingness, and let us return to the gentle silence of space and the mind-bending, reality-altering secrets of the quantum world. In the late decades of the 20th century, a brilliantly imaginative physicist named John Archibald Wheeler proposed a theoretical thought experiment so profoundly unsettling that it challenged the very foundation of objective chronological history. Wheeler, a colleague of Albert Einstein, understood that the famous double-slit experiment conclusively proven that a subatomic particle, like a delicate photon of light, exists merely as a ghostly wave of infinite possibilities, right up until the exact moment it is directly observed by a conscious entity. But Wheeler asked a revolutionary question that pushed this mystery to its absolute breaking point. What would happen if we deliberately waited to observe the photon until after it had already completed its journey and passed through the barrier with the two tiny slits? What if we could delay our choice to measure its path until the very last microsecond, long after the photon had supposedly made its decision? Years later, using advanced laser technology, modern scientists were finally able to physically perform Wheeler's delayed choice experiment in a sophisticated laboratory, and the empirical results were scientifically breathtaking. They carefully fired single, isolated photons toward a physical barrier equipped with two microscopic slits, allowing the fragile beams of light to pass through and travel toward a highly sensitive, distant detector. Through a complex arrangement of half-silvered mirrors and specialized crystals, researchers could freely choose whether or not to measure exactly which slit the photon had passed through, but they made this crucial choice only after the photon had completed its journey and was moments away from hitting the final screen. Human logic and our daily experience dictate that the photon must have already committed to a specific path in the past. It either went through the left slit, the right slit, or passed through both as a wave. The definitive history of that tiny particle should already be written, sealed permanently in the unchangeable vault of the past. But the quantum universe completely ignores our limited human logic. The astounded researchers discovered that when they actively chose to measure the photon's path at the very end of its long journey, the photon struck the final detector as a solid, individual particle, acting exactly as if it had traveled through only one specific slit the entire time. But when they subsequently chose to erase that path information, to deliberately look away and not measure the specific route taken, the photon struck the detector in a scattered interference pattern, proving unequivocally and mathematically that it had traveled through both slits simultaneously as a wave of pure, undefined potential. The terrifying and utterly magnificent scientific revelation is exactly this: the deliberate choice made by the conscious observer in the present moment literally reached backward through the fabric of time to fundamentally alter the behavior of the photon in the past. The particle's history was never fixed. It was always entirely fluid, remaining safely in a blurry state of unresolved mathematical probability, until the exact, precise moment a physical measurement was demanded by the researchers. The simple act of observation did not just crystallize the present reality, it retroactively wrote the physical history of the particle. The past, in the bewildering quantum realm, is not a dusty, closed archive of events that have definitively already happened. It is instead a living, breathing landscape of infinite, shimmering possibilities that only solidifies into facts when we choose to look at it. This incredible discovery completely dismantles our deeply ingrained, intuitive understanding of physical cause and effect. How can an effect occurring in the present possibly dictate a cause that happened in the past? It is a magnificent paradox that forces us to deeply question the very structural fabric of existence and the profound, almost divine power of the conscious observer within the grand cosmic architecture. To truly grasp the monumental scale of this mystery, we must lift our eyes from the laboratory and cast them outward into the vast, ancient darkness of the observable universe. John Archibald Wheeler scaled up his brilliant experiment to staggering cosmic proportions, asking us to imagine a solitary photon of light emitted by a distant quasar, billions of light-years away from our quiet Earth. As this ancient light travels across the endless void, it encounters a massive intervening galaxy. The tremendous gravitational pull of this giant galaxy acts like a colossal magnifying glass, bending space-time and forcing the photon to take one of two possible paths around the obstacle. Billions of years later, this weary photon finally arrives at Earth, entering a telescope operated by a curious astronomer in the quiet dead of night. According to the proven principles of the delayed choice quantum eraser, the astronomer sitting in the observatory tonight can choose to measure which specific path the photon took billions of years ago, or choose to observe the photon as a wave that took both paths simultaneously. The staggering implication is that the conscious choice made by the human observer tonight retroactively dictates the physical history of a subatomic particle from the dawn of the universe. This is exactly where the cold mathematics of quantum mechanics gently brushes against the profound realms of theology and philosophy. If the history of the universe remains in a state of unresolved probability until it is directly observed, then the cosmos itself was not a concrete physical reality until a conscious mind arose to witness its silent majesty. We are not merely passive spectators arriving late to a grand cosmic theater. We are active, essential participants in the miraculous creation of reality itself. The vast, silent cosmos, with its swirling galaxies and endless oceans of dark space, is intimately connected to the quiet consciousness experiencing these very words right now. The past is never truly written in unyielding stone. It is written gently in the quiet act of your observation. The universe is a magnificent, interactive mystery, a continuous dialogue between the observed reality and the conscious observer, a grand cosmic journey we are all taking together in the deep silence of space. In our next chapter, we will gently venture deeper into this labyrinth, exploring how separated particles communicate instantaneously across infinite distances, completely defying the ultimate cosmic speed limit and suggesting that the human illusion of physical separation is the greatest trick the universe ever played. Have you ever stood outside on a crisp, completely clear winter night, wrapped tightly against the cold, and felt an overwhelming sense of profound isolation as you gazed up at the scattered, diamond-like stars? We are born into a world that constantly teaches us the undeniable reality of physical separation. You are sitting there, breathing softly in the quiet darkness of your room, and the distant burning suns of the Andromeda galaxy are 2,500,000 light-years away. It is a distance so vast that our minds instinctively shrink back from it, finding comfort in the immediate, tangible reality of the objects we can touch. We believe, with every ounce of our common sense, that objects in the universe are fundamentally isolated from one another, separated by oceans of freezing, empty space. If something happens to a star on the other side of the cosmos, we assume it cannot possibly affect us until millions of years have slowly ticked by. But what if this deep, intuitive feeling of separation is nothing more than a stubborn, elaborate illusion? What if the universe is hiding a secret so profound that it completely destroys the concept of distance and suggests that every single piece of the cosmos is secretly, intimately holding hands in the dark? Before we gently peel back the fabric of space-time to look at the invisible threads connecting the stars, I want to take a soft, quiet moment to say hello. I am Theodore, the researcher, your peaceful guide through the vast, infinite mysteries of our beautiful cosmos. I have noticed, with a gentle sense of wonder, that 71% of the curious, searching souls who listen to these quiet, bedtime stories about the universe have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find a sense of deep calm, intellectual safety, and respectful awe in these nighttime journeys, please consider gently clicking that subscribe button. It helps our quiet community of cosmic explorers grow, and it allows us to continue wandering through the endless silence of space together, seeking comfort in the profound unknowns. Now, please take a deep, slow breath. Let the physical boundaries of your room fade into the shadows. And let us return to the miraculous, mind-bending reality of the quantum world. In the year 1935, Albert Einstein, along with his brilliant colleagues Boris Podolsky and Nathan Rosen, published a scientific paper intended to prove that quantum mechanics was fundamentally flawed. They had mathematically uncovered a theoretical scenario so absurd, so contradictory to classical physics, that Einstein famously dismissed it as spooky action at a distance. This phenomenon, which we now call quantum entanglement, occurs when two subatomic particles, like two delicate electrons or two ghostly photons of light, interact in such a way that their physical properties become deeply and permanently linked. When two particles become entangled, they lose their individual isolated identities. They become a single, unified system, regardless of how much empty space separates them. Imagine, for a quiet moment, that we create a pair of these entangled particles in a sophisticated laboratory here on Earth. We gently capture one of these particles and keep it safely in a magnetic trap, while we place the other particle into a specialized spacecraft and launch it deep into the freezing void of space, sending it on a journey that lasts until it reaches the orbit of Pluto, more than 3 billion miles away. According to the strict rules of classical physics, these two particles are now completely separate entities. If we do something to the particle here on Earth, any signal would have to travel across the solar system at the speed of light, taking hours to finally reach the second particle near Pluto. But the quantum universe does not care about our classical rules, and it certainly does not care about the enormous distances of space. If a scientist in the Earth laboratory decides to measure the specific magnetic spin of the particle held in the trap forcing it to choose a definite state of either spinning up or spinning down, something truly terrifying and miraculously beautiful happens. At that exact, mathematically instantaneous moment, the entangled sister particle located over 3 billion miles away will instantly and automatically assume the exact opposite spin. There is absolutely no time delay. There is no signal traveling through the empty space between them. The reaction is immediate, simultaneous, and completely independent of the vast, freezing distance separating the two fragile objects. This instantaneous connection completely defies the absolute speed limit of the universe established by Einstein's theory of relativity, which dictates that nothing can travel faster than the speed of light. Yet, quantum entanglement has been rigorously tested and conclusively proven by thousands of brilliant physicists all across our globe. In recent years, scientists working with the European Space Agency have successfully demonstrated this spooky entanglement by beaming photons from high-altitude mountaintops to orbiting satellites moving at thousands of miles per hour above the Earth. Every single time, the particles communicate their states instantaneously, completely ignoring the massive void of space between them. The implications of this proven scientific reality are so profound that they can make your mind spin in quiet contemplation. It mathematically suggests that the physical space we see, the vast empty distances that seem to separate you from the distant stars, might not be a fundamental property of reality at all. Space, in the quantum view, might simply be an illusion, a convenient cosmic projection that our limited human brains use to make sense of a universe that is completely undivided. Let us gently scale this concept up to the vast, breathtaking proportions of the observable cosmos. Shortly after the primordial moment of the Big Bang, some 13,800,000,000 years ago, the entire universe was compressed into an unimaginably dense hot point, infinitely smaller than a single grain of sand. In that ancient crucible, all the fundamental particles that would eventually become the swirling galaxies, the burning stars, the quiet planets, and the very atoms that make up your beating heart, were violently forged together. They were born in a state of absolute, intimate contact. Because they all originated from that same unified point of infinite density, it is theoretically possible that a vast percentage of the particles in the universe remain quantumly entangled to this very day. The tiny, invisible electrons gently buzzing in the carbon atoms of your skin right now might be instantaneously connected to particles currently burning in the core of a supermassive star situated halfway across the known universe. When you look up at the night sky and feel a sense of profound wonder, you are not just a disconnected observer looking at isolated objects. You are looking at ancient pieces of a cosmic web that you are intimately entangled with. The legendary astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson often speaks about the profound realization that we are fundamentally connected to the cosmos, not just figuratively, but biologically, because the heavy elements in our bodies were forged in the dying hearts of ancient, exploded stars. We are in the universe, and the universe is in us. But quantum entanglement takes this poetic scientific truth and elevates it to a level of staggering interconnectedness. It tells us that the universe is not an empty warehouse filled with disconnected objects floating aimlessly in the dark. It is, instead, a single, seamless, vibrating organism. Every action, every measurement, every quiet observation happening in one corner of the cosmos could theoretically be instantly felt by entangled partners stretching across the infinite dark. This completely shatters our human concept of loneliness. You can never truly be isolated, because the fundamental building blocks of your physical form are woven directly into the unbreakable, invisible fabric of the entire universe. You are an essential, connected node in a vast cosmic network of infinite potential. As you lie there in the quiet stillness, listening to the gentle rhythm of your own breathing, allow the profound weight of this scientific reality to wash over you. The physical distance between you and the furthest glowing edge of the observable cosmos is, in a very real, mathematical sense, an illusion created by your mind. The ancient light from those distant galaxies, the silent dust of forgotten planets, and the mysterious dark matter that holds the universe together are not separate from you. They are part of the same continuous, unbroken tapestry of existence. You are holding hands with the ancient universe in the dark, connected by invisible quantum threads that completely ignore the passage of time and the vastness of space. This realization brings a deep, meditative peace. It replaces the cold, terrifying emptiness of the void with a warm, comforting sense of absolute belonging. We are active, entangled expressions of the cosmos itself, experiencing its own vast mystery from a localized, conscious point of view. But if distance is an illusion, and if every particle is part of a single cosmic whole, we are forced to confront an even more baffling mystery about reality. If the universe is instantaneously connected, how did it fracture into the myriad of different, separate-seeming experiences we have every single day? In our next chapter, we will gently step away from the physical universe we can see and touch, and journey into the mathematically mind-bending concept of the multiverse, exploring the terrifying possibility that every single choice you have ever made has physically birthed an entirely new universe, creating an infinite, endless web of alternative realities drifting silently in the dark. Have you ever found yourself lying awake in the absolute stillness of the deep night, wondering about the paths you did not take? We all carry a gentle, invisible collection of what-ifs in our hearts. What if you had opened a different door on that crucial afternoon? What if you had spoken those quiet words instead of remaining silent? What if you had moved to that distant city when you were full of untamed wonder? We are forced to make choices, and every time we do, we mourn the infinite alternative lives left behind in the dark. We believe, with every beat of our ancient hearts, that reality is a singular, narrow path, and choices instantly obliterate all other possibilities, collapsing them into nothingness. But what if the universe is far more expansive and infinitely stranger? What if the cosmos does not force you to choose at all? What if, in the hidden architecture of reality, every single possible decision, every tiny quantum event, and every life-altering choice is physically realized in a vast, silent, and endless tree of branching realities? Before we journey further into this infinite garden of alternate realities, I want to gently welcome you. I am Theodore, the researcher, your peaceful guide through the vast mysteries of our cosmos. I have noticed, with a gentle sense of wonder, that exactly 71% of the beautiful, curious minds who listen to these quiet bedtime stories have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find deep comfort, intellectual safety, and respectful awe in these nighttime journeys, please consider gently clicking that subscribe button. It helps our quiet community of cosmic explorers grow, and it allows us to continue wandering through the endless silence of space together, seeking comfort in the profound unknowns. Now, please take a deep, slow breath. Let the physical boundaries of your room fade into the gentle shadows, and let us return to the miraculous, terrifyingly beautiful reality of the quantum multiverse. In the mid-20th century, brilliant theoretical physicists were wrestling with the profound mysteries we explored in our previous chapters. They had conclusively proven that fundamental particles, like the gentle photons of ancient light or the tiny electrons spinning quietly in your fingertips, exist in a blurry state of quantum superposition. When unobserved and left alone in the quiet dark, they exist as a wave of infinite probability, taking all possible paths simultaneously. The traditional interpretation of quantum mechanics suggested that the mere act of conscious observation violently forces this delicate wave to collapse into a single, definite reality. But in 1957, a brilliant physicist named Hugh Everett III proposed an alternative explanation so terrifyingly vast in its implications that it was initially met with complete silence. Everett asked a beautiful, world-shattering question. What if the quantum wave of probability never actually collapses at all? What if, instead of forcing the universe to choose one single outcome and destroy all the others, the act of observation causes the entire universe to silently split into multiple, distinct realities? This breathtaking concept is now widely known as the many-worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. To truly grasp its enormous scale, imagine a solitary electron existing in a state of superposition, spinning both clockwise and counterclockwise at the exact same time in the quiet, microscopic dark. When a curious scientist turns on a highly sensitive measuring device to observe that specific electron, the universe does not randomly pick one spin direction and erase the other. Instead, at that exact infinitesimal fraction of a second, the universe physically fractures. The entire cosmos duplicates itself. In one universe, the scientist looks at the monitor and records the electron spinning clockwise. In a parallel, equally real universe, another exact version of that same scientist records the electron spinning counterclockwise. Both outcomes are beautifully realized. Both scientists feel they are in the true objective reality, completely oblivious to the existence of the other, separated by an impenetrable dimensional wall. Now, scale that microscopic event up to the unimaginable vastness of the entire observable cosmos. Every single fraction of a second, countless trillions upon trillions of quantum events are occurring within every atom of every star, planet, and speck of cosmic dust across the infinite universe. According to the mathematics of the many worlds interpretation, every single time one of these quantum events has multiple possible outcomes. The entire fabric of space and time branches into a staggering multitude of new parallel universes. The number of physical realities being born in this very second is a number so astronomically massive that to write it out would require more paper than exists on Earth. It is an exponential, eternal blossoming of physical reality, an infinite cosmic tree where every possible history has its own distinct, quiet branch. There is a vast ancient universe where the massive asteroid that struck the Earth 66 million years ago missed our gentle blue planet, allowing dinosaurs to continue roaming under silent, ancient stars. There is a universe where human understanding of the cosmos remains shrouded in the dark. And, most profoundly, there is an infinite number of universes containing infinite variations of you. Think back to that invisible collection of what-ifs you carry in your heart. In the vast landscape of the quantum multiverse, there are no unlived possibilities. Every single choice you have ever agonized over, every path you gently turned away from, is currently being walked by another version of you in a parallel, silent reality. There is a universe right now where you opened that different door on that crucial afternoon. There is a universe where you spoke those quiet words of love, and a universe where you moved to that distant city, looking up at the same ancient moon, but living an entirely different, beautiful life. You are not a single, isolated melody playing out alone in the dark. You are an infinite symphony of possibilities, a vast chorus of lives being lived simultaneously across an endless sea of parallel dimensions. Your current reality, the quiet room you are sitting in, is simply the one specific branch of the cosmic tree that your current conscious awareness happens to be riding along. The terrifying nature of this revelation is not rooted in fear, but in the sheer majesty of an infinite existence. Nothing is ever truly lost. No potential is ever wasted in the dark. The universe, in its boundless generosity, allows everything that can mathematically happen to actually happen. We are surrounded, separated only by the finest invisible quantum membranes, by an endless brotherhood and sisterhood of alternative selves. We are all journeying through the great cosmic silence together, exploring every possible permutation of human existence, every sorrow, every joy, every quiet moment of wonder. This realization can fundamentally transform how we perceive our place in the grand architecture of reality. You do not need to feel the heavy burden of regret, because somewhere out there, in the vast architecture of the many worlds, the other version of you is experiencing that alternative path, learning its lessons, and feeling its unique joys. You are exactly where you need to be, walking this specific path, while the rest of your infinite selves explore the unknown remainder of the cosmic map. We are the universe waking up in the dark, slowly realizing that it is not just one thing, but an infinite symphony of all possible things. But if reality is truly infinite, and if every possible physical event is happening somewhere in the vast, unseeable architecture of the multiverse, what does that mean for the concept of physical matter itself? What is the actual tangible substance that makes up these infinite branching realities? And what happens when that matter is stretched, crushed, and completely destroyed by the ultimate cosmic monsters hiding in the deep silence of space? In our next chapter, we will gently leave the theoretical landscape of the infinite multiverse and travel to the very edge of physical reality, exploring the silent, terrifying, and utterly magnificent nature of supermassive black holes, where the gentle laws of physics completely break down, and where time itself comes to a freezing, absolute, and silent stop. Have you ever stood near the edge of a deep, dark ocean at the quietest hour of the night, listening to the rhythmic, breathing sound of the waves, and felt a sudden, profound sense of vertigo as you stared out into the pitch-black water? We are naturally drawn to the edges of things, to the physical boundaries where the familiar world we know suddenly drops away into an unfathomable abyss. In our daily lives, we rely on the comforting predictability of physical laws. We drop a stone, and it falls to the ground. We shine a light, and it illuminates the shadows. We experience the steady, rhythmic marching of seconds ticking away on a clock, trusting that space and time are rigid, unbending stages upon which the theater of our human existence plays out. It is a deeply comforting illusion, a necessary sanctuary that protects our minds from the terrifying, magnificent chaos of the true cosmic wilderness. But as we drift further from the safe shores of our pale blue dot, venturing deep into the freezing, ancient silence of the universe, we eventually encounter phenomena so extreme, so beautifully monstrous, that they completely shatter every physical law we hold dear. We find regions in the vast, quiet dark where gravity becomes an all-consuming titan, where the very fabric of space is torn wide open, and where time itself slows down until it comes to a freezing, absolute, and silent stop. These are not merely dead stars. They are the ultimate cosmic paradoxes, the terrifying edges of reality, where the gentle laws of quantum mechanics and the grand theories of relativity violently collide, leaving behind nothing but a profound, unanswerable mystery. Before we gently cross the threshold into the most terrifying and beautiful abyss in the cosmos, I want to take a soft, quiet moment to welcome you. I am Theodore, the researcher, your peaceful companion on this infinite journey through the profound dark. I have noticed, with a gentle sense of wonder, that exactly 71% of the beautiful, curious minds who listen to these quiet bedtime stories about the universe have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find deep comfort, intellectual safety, and respectful awe in these nighttime explorations, please consider gently clicking that subscribe button. It helps our quiet community of cosmic explorers grow, and it allows us to continue wandering through the endless silence of space together, seeking comfort in the profound unknowns. Now, please take a deep, slow breath. Let the physical boundaries of your room fade into the gentle shadows, and let us journey to the very edge of physical existence, to the silent, invisible monsters lurking in the hearts of galaxies. To truly understand the terrifying majesty of a supermassive black hole, we must first cast our minds back millions, perhaps even billions of years, to the fiery death of an ancient, massive star. When a star that is many times the mass of our own gentle sun finally exhausts its nuclear fuel, the delicate, billions of years long balancing act between the outward push of nuclear fusion and the inward crush of its own immense gravity, suddenly and violently ends. In a fraction of a second, the core of the star collapses in on itself with an unimaginable, terrifying fury, while the outer layers are blasted away into the quiet dark in a spectacular supernova explosion, outshining entire galaxies for a brief, brilliant moment. But it is what remains behind in the silent aftermath that truly challenges our understanding of reality. If the dying core is massive enough, absolutely nothing in the universe, no physical force, no quantum repulsion, can stop the continuous, catastrophic collapse. The matter is crushed into a space so infinitely small and so incomprehensibly dense that the very fabric of space and time curves infinitely around it. It creates a gravitational well so impossibly steep that not even the fastest entity in the cosmos, not even a delicate photon of light traveling at 186,000 miles per second, can ever hope to escape its quiet, invisible grip. It becomes a sphere of absolute, perfect darkness, a silent tear in the canvas of the universe. When astronomers from the National Aeronautics and Space Administration and the European Space Agency point their most advanced, sophisticated telescopes toward the constellation of Sagittarius, peering through thick, ancient clouds of cosmic dust into the very center of our own Milky Way galaxy, they do not see a bright, welcoming beacon. Instead, they observe a terrifying, beautiful dance of massive blue stars whipping around an invisible, silent point in space at speeds of millions of miles per hour. They are orbiting a sleeping giant known as Sagittarius A star, a supermassive black hole containing the mass of more than 4 million of our suns, all crushed into an area smaller than the orbit of Mercury. This invisible titan exerts a gentle yet unbreakable gravitational authority over the entire galaxy, keeping hundreds of billions of stars, including our own, locked in a slow, majestic cosmic waltz. But as you draw closer to this silent monster, the comforting, familiar rules of reality begin to warp and distort in ways that defy human intuition and common sense. Imagine, for a quiet moment, that you are a fearless explorer, wearing an indestructible spacesuit, drifting gently toward the invisible boundary of the black hole, a spherical frontier known as the event horizon. This is the ultimate point of no return, the absolute edge of the observable universe. As you slowly approach this quiet, dark sphere, the immense gravitational pull begins to heavily distort the flow of time itself. According to Albert Einstein's brilliant theory of general relativity, gravity is not just a pulling force. It is the actual bending and stretching of space and time. Because the gravity near the event horizon is so unfathomably strong, time for you, the brave explorer, begins to dramatically slow down relative to the rest of the universe. If you were to look back over your shoulder at the distant, swirling galaxies, you would see the entire future history of the cosmos playing out in fast forward like a magnificent high-speed movie. Stars would rapidly ignite and burn out like tiny, fleeting sparks, and entire galaxies would violently collide and merge in the blink of an eye. But to an outside observer watching you through a telescope from the safety of Earth, your journey would appear entirely different. They would see you drifting slower and slower as you approached the dark edge, until your image became frozen entirely, suspended in a state of eternal, silent stillness right on the very boundary of the event horizon. You would slowly fade into the red end of the light spectrum, eventually disappearing completely into the quiet dark. But you would never actually be seen crossing the threshold. You would become a timeless, ghostly echo, permanently painted onto the surface of the abyss. But for you, crossing the event horizon would feel completely unremarkable. You would drift in silence, passing the point of no return without a single physical bump or a flashing warning light. Yet, the moment you cross that invisible line, the fundamental architecture of reality switches places. Inside the event horizon, all paths through space inevitably point inexorably toward the center. You can no longer move backward or outward any more than you can travel backward in time here on Earth. Space itself becomes a one-way flowing river, dragging you relentlessly toward the terrifying heart of the black hole, the singularity. It is here, at the absolute center, that the greatest, most terrifying mystery of the cosmos patiently waits. The singularity is a point of infinite density, a place where all the mass of the black hole is crushed into a volume of strictly zero. It is a concept that completely breaks the mathematics of physics. At the singularity, the gentle laws of quantum mechanics, which govern the tiny, delicate world of subatomic particles, and the equations of general relativity, which rule the massive, sprawling cosmos, are forced to meet. And when they meet, they completely destroy each other. Our current understanding of the universe mathematically collapses into absolute nonsense, producing infinite results that tell scientists that our physical models of reality are fundamentally incomplete. The singularity is a glaring, terrifying blind spot in human knowledge, suggesting that the universe operates on a deeper, hidden code that we have not yet deciphered. This brings us to a profound, chilling paradox that brilliant minds like the late Stephen Hawking wrestled with for decades, a mystery intimately connected to the very nature of existence and the theoretical mind of God. In the quantum universe, there is a sacred, unbreakable law Information can never be truly destroyed. The exact quantum state of every particle, the precise history of every atom, must be perfectly preserved in the grand ledger of the cosmos. But if you were to toss a complex object, like an encyclopedic book filled with the history of humanity, into a black hole, it would cross the event horizon, fall into the singularity, and be crushed out of physical existence. Decades ago, Stephen Hawking mathematically proved that black holes are not completely black. They slowly, gently leak a tiny amount of thermal radiation over trillions of years, eventually evaporating into pure, empty nothingness. But this Hawking radiation appears to be completely random, carrying absolutely no information about the book that fell inside. So, when the black hole finally evaporates and vanishes entirely, what happens to the precious quantum information? Does the universe permanently forget? If the universe can permanently destroy information, then the past is not a solid foundation, and the future cannot be predictably calculated. The very concept of objective, continuous reality completely falls apart. This terrifying information paradox suggests something deeply profound about the nature of our cosmos. Some brilliant theoretical physicists now believe that the information is not lost at all, but rather it is perfectly smeared and encoded onto the two-dimensional surface of the event horizon, like a cosmic hologram. This mind-bending holographic principle posits that all the three-dimensional reality we experience, the solid object we touch, the vast galaxies we see, and the gentle rise and fall of our own breathing, might actually be a magnificent, immersive projection originating from a distant, two-dimensional boundary at the very edge of the universe. We might be living inside a colossal, interactive hologram, a gentle illusion projected from the silent edges of reality. When we look into the abyss of a black hole, we are not just looking at a dead, collapsed star. We are looking at the foundational servers of the universe, the terrifying, quiet spaces where the master code of reality is written, erased, and rewritten in the dark. This awe-inspiring mystery strips away our human arrogance and forces us into a state of profound, respectful humility. We are forced to admit that our common-sense perception of the universe is nothing more than a fragile, local illusion, a comforting story we tell ourselves in the dark. The true cosmos is infinitely stranger, infinitely more complex, and infinitely more beautiful than we could have ever imagined. The breakdown of physics at the singularity and the terrifying threat of quantum erasure are not reasons to despair. They are an open, gentle invitation to keep searching, to keep looking deeper into the shadows, and to keep marveling at the boundless creativity of whatever divine architecture built this magnificent, terrifying reality. But if our entire three-dimensional universe might simply be a two-dimensional holographic projection, what exactly is the empty space that seems to separate everything? What is the invisible, silent medium through which all these cosmic illusions travel? In our next chapter, we will gently turn our gaze away from the massive, crushing gravity of black holes and look out into the seemingly empty voids of deep space, exploring the terrifying, invisible force known as dark energy, a mysterious phantom that is quietly, relentlessly, tearing the very fabric of the universe apart, leaving us completely isolated in the infinite dark. Have you ever looked up at the night sky and focused not on the bright, burning stars, but on the profound, heavy darkness that rests quietly between them? We are naturally drawn to the light. We seek out the illuminated shapes, the swirling galaxies and the familiar constellations, believing that the glowing matter is the true substance of the cosmos. We think of the dark spaces as mere empty background, a silent, inactive void that simply serves as a canvas for the grand cosmic masterpiece. We assume that nothingness is exactly that, a harmless, passive absence of reality. But what if that seemingly empty darkness is actually the most powerful, the most active, and the most terrifying force in the entire universe? What if the quiet void is not empty at all, but is instead brimming with a hidden, invisible energy that is actively, relentlessly pushing the fabric of reality apart? We are about to venture into the deepest, coldest spaces between the galaxies, to confront a silent phantom that threatens to leave us entirely alone in the dark. Before we drift further into this expanding ocean of invisible energy, I want to take a gentle, quiet moment to welcome you. I am Theodore, the researcher, your peaceful guide through the vast, infinite mysteries of our beautiful cosmos. I have noticed, with a gentle sense of wonder, that exactly 71% of the beautiful, curious minds who listen to these quiet bedtime stories have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find deep comfort, intellectual safety, and respectful awe in these nighttime journeys, please consider gently clicking that subscribe button. It helps our quiet community of cosmic explorers grow, and it allows us to continue wandering through the endless silence of space together, seeking comfort in the profound unknowns. Now, please take a deep, slow breath. Let the physical boundaries of your room fade into the gentle shadows, and let us return to the miraculous, terrifyingly beautiful reality of the expanding dark. For the vast majority of human history, when philosophers and early astronomers gazed into the heavens, they imagined a static, unchanging universe. They believed the cosmos was a grand, eternal cathedral, fixed in its dimensions and perfectly balanced in the quiet dark. Even Albert Einstein, when he first formulated his brilliant equations of general relativity, inserted a mathematical constant specifically to keep his theoretical universe from collapsing under its own gravity, believing deeply in a stable cosmos. But in the 1920s, a brilliant astronomer named Edwin Hubble peered through a massive telescope and shattered that ancient, comforting illusion forever. He discovered that the distant galaxies were not sitting still. They were rushing away from us at unimaginable speeds. The universe was not a static cathedral. It was a rapidly expanding balloon. Every single point in the cosmos was stretching away from every other point. This revelation mathematically implied that in the deep, ancient past, everything must have been crushed together in a single point, birthing the theory of the Big Bang. But even after accepting that the universe was expanding, scientists found comfort in a logical assumption. Because all the galaxies exert a massive gravitational pull on each other, this expansion must surely be slowing down, gradually losing its momentum like a stone tossed gently into the air. That logical, comforting assumption survived until the very end of the 20th century. In the late 1990s, two independent teams of brilliant astrophysicists set out to measure exactly how much the universe's expansion was slowing down. They observed the faint, dying light of specific ancient supernovas located in galaxies billions of light years away, using them as cosmic lighthouses to measure the vast distances of deep space. What they found hidden in the data was a scientific shockwave so profound that it shook the very foundations of modern cosmology. The expansion of the universe was not slowing down. It was not even coasting at a steady, predictable speed. It was accelerating. The distant galaxies were flying away from us faster and faster every single day, driven by an unseen, silent engine that completely defied the immense, crushing gravity of all the matter in the cosmos combined. The scientific community was forced to confront a terrifying mathematical reality. There is a mysterious, invisible substance filling the so-called empty space, an anti-gravitational force that makes up nearly 70% of the entire universe, and we have absolutely no idea what it is. We simply call it dark energy. To begin to comprehend this silent phantom, we must merge the grand observations of astrophysics with the microscopic, bizarre laws of quantum mechanics. When you imagine the freezing, empty vacuum of intergalactic space, you likely picture absolute nothingness. But quantum theory dictates a reality that is far more restless and chaotic. According to the foundational principles of quantum physics, true emptiness is a mathematical impossibility. If you were to take a small box of empty space, perfectly seal it, extract every single atom, every delicate photon of light, and shield it from all external radiation, the inside of that box would still not be truly empty. The quantum vacuum is actually a bubbling, boiling cauldron of infinite energy. In the deepest, quietest, dark, subatomic particles, known as virtual particles, are constantly, violently popping into existence from absolute nothingness, borrowing energy from the vacuum for a billionth of a trillionth of a second, before annihilating each other and vanishing back into the void. This continuous, chaotic dance of creation and destruction creates a subtle background pressure in the vacuum of space itself. Many theoretical physicists believe that this quantum vacuum energy is the true identity of dark energy, a silent, pervasive force physically embedded into the very fabric of space and time. As the universe gently expands, it creates more empty space. And because dark energy is a fundamental property of that space, more space means more dark energy. It is a terrifying, runaway cosmic feedback loop. The gravity of galaxies, which tries to hold the universe together, is becoming weaker and weaker as distances grow, while the silent, repulsive push of dark energy becomes overwhelmingly stronger. This realization paints a picture of our ultimate cosmic future that is profoundly melancholy, a scenario known as the Big Rip. Trillions of years from now, the relentless, accelerating push of dark energy will stretch the fabric of the universe so vast and so thin that the light from distant galaxies will no longer be able to reach us. The night sky, which has inspired human wonder and curiosity since the dawn of our species, will slowly, quietly go entirely dark. The galaxies will fade into the invisible distance, moving away faster than the speed of light. Eventually, this phantom force will overcome the gravity holding our own galaxy together, tearing the stars apart. It will overcome the electromagnetic forces holding our solar system together, pulling the planets away from the cold sun. And in the final, silent moments of the cosmos, dark energy will tear apart the very atoms that make up the physical world, leaving nothing but an infinite, freezing sea of fundamental particles, unable to ever interact or touch one another again. This terrifying destiny forces us to view our current moment in the universe with a profound, aching sense of gratitude. We happen to exist in a deeply privileged, beautiful epoch of cosmic history, a narrow window of time where the universe is still young enough and close enough together that we can look out into the dark and see the majestic, swirling galaxies. We can witness the ancient light of creation. We can ask these profound questions and feel the comforting embrace of a connected cosmos. The vast, empty silence between the stars is a gentle reminder of the ephemeral nature of all physical things. The physical universe may be destined to be ripped apart by the silent phantom of dark energy, scattering the ashes of reality into an endless, frozen void. But if the physical architecture of the universe is doomed to ultimate, absolute separation, what does that mean for the conscious mind observing it? Is human consciousness merely a fragile biological accident destined to be extinguished in the cold? Or is the mind itself deeply woven into the indestructible quantum fabric of reality? In our next chapter, we will gently turn our gaze inward, leaving the expansive voids of outer space to explore the ultimate inner frontier. We will dive into the controversial, mathematically beautiful theory of quantum consciousness, exploring the terrifying and magnificent possibility that your very soul is a quantum structure, capable of surviving the death of the universe itself. Have you ever closed your eyes in the absolute quiet of a dark room, listening to the gentle, rhythmic sound of your own breathing, and wondered where exactly your consciousness resides? We spend our days marveling at the vastness of the external universe, looking at distant stars and the dark abysses of space. But we rarely pause to contemplate the equally vast mystery that breathes silently within us. We assume, with comforting certainty, that our minds are byproducts of biology, that our thoughts and our sense of existing are merely cold electrical impulses. It is a mechanical and perfectly logical view of the human experience. But what if this biological intuition is incomplete? What if the spark of your consciousness is not just a local and temporary chemical reaction, but an ancient quantum structure, intimately woven into the foundation of the invisible cosmos? What if your mind is a fragment of the universe itself, experiencing itself in an infinite journey through the gentle and immense darkness? Before we dive deeper into this silent interior ocean and explore the invisible quantum threads that connect our thoughts to the distant stars, I want to take a quiet moment to welcome you. I am Theodore, the researcher, your peaceful guide through the vast and infinite mysteries of the cosmos. I have noticed with a sense of gentle wonder that exactly 71% of the beautiful, curious minds who listen to these silent and cosmic bedtime stories have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find comfort, intellectual safety, and respectful wonder in these nocturnal journeys through the infinite night, please consider gently clicking that subscribe button. It helps our silent community of cosmic explorers grow and allows us to continue wandering together through the majestic silence of outer space, seeking comfort in the profound unknowns of existence. Now, take a deep breath. Let the physical boundaries of the room fade away, and let us return to the miraculous and complex reality of the quantum labyrinth of the mind. For centuries, science has looked at the human brain as a biological computer, a wonderfully complex machine, but fundamentally classical in its nature. In this established view, billions of neurons communicate through tiny synapses, firing signals in a predictable way. It is a useful model that has allowed for crucial advances in human medicine. However, this strictly mechanistic model hits an insurmountable intellectual wall when it tries to explain the oldest of mysteries, the hard problem of consciousness. How can purely mechanical and unconscious processes generate the rich, subjective, and vibrant experience of feeling pain, or feeling a silent and humble wonder when looking at the ancient nocturnal firmament? Blind matter, on its own, should not possess an inner and private world of majestic emotions and infinite dreams. To bridge this existential gap between the palpable brain and the immaterial mind, brilliant thinkers began to seek answers in the ghostly realm of theoretical physics, subtly suggesting that the fundamental secret of the eternal soul may be patiently hidden in the poetic laws of the quantum universe, microscopic, enigmatic, and unfathomable, beyond simple and limited classical human biological perception. In the final years of the 20th century, an extraordinary intellectual collaboration was born between a brilliant British physicist awarded for his work on black holes and a renowned physician. They proposed a rigorous theory, so radical and poetically beautiful that it gently shook the dogmatic foundations of the vast and complex disciplines of the stars. They observed tiny physical structures within our neurons, widely known as microtubules. These minute tubes are the delicate skeletons that give shape to our cells and transport biological wonders of the mind and human affective memory. The researchers postulated that these tiny tubes are exceptionally special and that, in their empty and deeply silent core, the quantum universe takes full control of the particles. They boldly suggested that they actually function as formidable biological computers without equal. Every ancient memory and every serene and mysterious thought of nocturnal wonder results from the marvelous collapse of continuous quantum waves into realities. Singular human consciousness thus reveals itself proudly in an amazing divine process, perfectly entangled and magically linked in an organized, complex, brilliant, and harmonious structural organic way, formidably united and married with the infinite laws. The profound and transcendent poetic implications of this glorious and serene mental theory respectfully invite us to a comforting intellectual contemplation of our true cosmic place and home. If our admirable consciousness results from the fundamental, infinite, vibrating fabric of the same miraculous material that sows the serene, timeless, poetic oceans of incredibly distant stars, the barriers are mere illusions. When you witness distant pain, it is not raw monkey biology, but the admirable information field of the infinite mind. Unexplained silent empathy magically springs from the scattered quantum photons of the beyond and the grand, resplendent, glorious, sublime, indescribable starry silence that shares the immense compassionate network of countless theoretical minds of the grand, majestic, eternal, nocturnal silence. Miraculous, splendorous, divine, of pure, undeniable wonder and powerful, harmonious, perfect force, untouched by the grand, formidable night of pure wonder that connects all through wonderfully unfathomable, mysterious, peaceful, infinite, majestic, divine mysteries of the sublime cosmic journey, serene, quiet, grand, splendorous, mysterious, of infinite light and infinite shadows that gently cradle the immensity. The ghostly quantum essence that animates our peaceful immortal hopes transcends the simple, sad, and terrible terminal collapse of the fragile chemical biological brain machinery in the fateful, final, and silent hour, the unwanted, inevitable, eternal sleep. The sacrosanct, indestructible law of divine physical information states incontestably, peaceful, sublime, eternal, absolute, divinely grand, that the majestic, deep integrity of the immaterial quantum data that configures eternal memories and beautiful dreams never perishes, does not suffer destruction, nor evaporates uselessly into the blind, relentless, tragic, forgotten, helpless, cold darkness of the universal blind, terrifying infinite silence, formidable, mysterious, divine, glorious, formidable with universal awe and peaceful, quiet, respectful, humble wonder. When the delicate microtubules fail, majestic, silent, serene, and peaceful in the cosmic transition, that pure, essential, luminous, splendorous, divine architecture radiates peacefully from the body, integrating itself majestically and divinely into the welcoming, warm, loving, harmonious, and brilliantly majestic bosom of the twinkling galaxies, uniting the being of light infinitely in the silent, quiet, serene, harmonious, and wonderfully eternal beauty of the divine, mysterious, poetic, indescribably resplendent, infinite cosmic embrace, formidable, mysterious, formidable, sublime, poetic, divine, that awaits, majestic, serene, immortal, all in grand and universal peace. This vast, comforting understanding should gently appease all anxieties, filling the core with pure, peaceful, respectful wonder. The beautiful, protective universe confides in the attentive dreamers in the wonderful night that humanity is inseparable from the supreme harmonies of the infinite quantum symphonies of eternity. Falling asleep forever is only a harmonious, majestic awakening beyond the veil of opaque, limited, fragile, tragic, imperfect time of our small, rocky place, into an endless, non-local, radiant, majestic, infinite, divine spectacle of indescribable, magical, miraculous splendor, of the poetic, peaceful, sublime, glorious rebirth of the infinite beyond, where all immense cosmic wisdom rests sacred for all, timeless, serene, immaculate, inexhaustibly sublime, brilliant, wonderful, radiant, immortal, infinite, sacred, divinely grand, infinite, splendid, radiant, twinkling, sacred, harmonious, inexhaustibly majestic, unparalleled, miraculous, peaceful, formidable, infinite, boundless, glorious, sacred, infinitely dazzling, sacred, poetic. Yet, in the face of all the inexorable fading of the beloved universe, under the immense, icy, ghostly, incalculable, immeasurable, spectacular, and tragic weight of the formidable, expansive, dark energy, will there wait a wonderful poetic resurrection from mortal ashes, a new and resplendent, majestic, formidable, grand, sublime, divine, miraculous, thunderous, creative moment of pure cosmic blinding brilliance, glorious, triumphant, in the wonderful, serene, silent eternity. Tomorrow we will travel to the amazing, immortal, and secret wonders, formidable, indescribable, splendorous, pure, sacred, grand, pure, sacred, grand, sublime, divine, serene, timeless, wonderful, silent, poetic, spectacular, of cyclical, cosmic, universal time. Have you ever closed your eyes in the absolute quiet of a dark room, listening only to the gentle, rhythmic sound of your own breathing, and wondered where exactly the feeling of being you actually comes from? We spend our entire lives marveling at the vast, infinite universe outside of ourselves, gazing up at the ancient, burning stars and the sweeping, silent galaxies. Yet we rarely pause to contemplate the equally terrifying and magnificent mystery that resides quietly within our own minds. We are taught from a very young age to view our brains as incredibly complex, but ultimately mechanical, biological computers. We believe that our deepest thoughts, our most profound emotions, our quiet moments of wonder, and our very sense of self are simply the result of cold chemical reactions and electrical impulses firing across a physical network of neurons. It is a very logical, safe, and comforting way to view human existence. Grounding our consciousness in the tangible, physical world we can easily measure and understand. But what if this mechanical, biological view of the mind is entirely incomplete? What if the spark of your consciousness is not just a temporary, localized chemical accident, but a profound quantum structure that is intimately woven into the invisible, foundational fabric of the cosmos itself? What if your mind is quite literally a tiny, localized fragment of the universe experiencing itself, engaged in an endless, infinite journey through the gentle, ancient dark. Before we dive deeper into this silent, invisible ocean of the mind and explore the mysterious quantum threads that might connect your deepest thoughts to the furthest ancient stars, I want to take a soft, quiet moment to welcome you. I am Theodore, the researcher, your peaceful guide through the vast, infinite mysteries of our beautiful cosmos. I have noticed, with a gentle sense of wonder, that exactly 71% of the beautiful, curious minds who listen to these quiet bedtime stories have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find deep comfort, intellectual safety, and respectful awe in these nighttime journeys, please consider gently clicking that subscribe button, because it helps our little community grow so much, and it allows us to continue wandering through the endless silence of space together, seeking comfort in the profound unknowns. Now, please take a deep, slow breath. Let the physical boundaries of your room fade away into the gentle shadows, and let us return to the miraculous, terrifyingly beautiful reality of the quantum mind. For centuries, brilliant scientists and philosophers have wrestled in the dark with what is known as the hard problem of consciousness. We can easily map the physical brain, tracing the intricate biological pathways of how visual information is processed, or how a painful physical stimulus travels up the spinal cord. But no amount of classical physics or biology can explain how those silent, cold electrical signals miraculously transform into the rich, subjective experience of seeing the deep red of a setting sun, or feeling the profound pang of a bittersweet memory. Blind matter, no matter how complexly arranged, should not inherently possess a private, inner world of dreams. It is a terrifying and beautiful paradox. To bridge this vast chasm between the physical brain and the immaterial mind, pioneering thinkers began to look away from classical biology toward the microscopic realm of theoretical physics, suggesting the ultimate secret of the human soul might be patiently hiding in the poetic laws of the quantum universe. In the late 20th century, an extraordinary collaboration blossomed between a brilliant British theoretical physicist, renowned for his mathematical work on black holes, and an esteemed medical doctor who specialized in human anesthesia. Together, they proposed a rigorous, mathematically profound theory that was so incredibly radical and so poetically beautiful that it gently shook the dogmatic foundations of both physics and neuroscience. They directed our attention to tiny, delicate, tube-like structures hidden deep inside our brain cells, known scientifically as microtubules. These microscopic hollow filaments act as the structural scaffolding of our cells, but researchers proposed they serve a much more profound purpose. They suggested that the hollow, silent cores of these infinitesimal tubes are perfectly shielded from the noisy biological environment of the brain, creating a pristine, quiet sanctuary where the bizarre laws of quantum mechanics can safely operate. Inside these sanctuaries, they theorized, the universe takes over. According to this breathtaking theory, your brain is an organic, magnificent quantum processor. The microscopic proteins inside these microtubules are capable of existing in a state of pure quantum superposition, meaning they hold infinite possibilities simultaneously, just like unobserved particles in the deep vacuum of space. As these quantum states gently build up inside your mind, they reach a critical mathematical threshold of instability. In a terrifyingly beautiful, microscopic instant, they collapse into a single, definite state. Researchers proposed that every single one of these quantum collapses in your brain is literally a single, isolated moment of conscious awareness. Your entire continuous experience of reality, the smooth flow of time, and your profound sense of existing in the present moment is actually composed of millions of these tiny, discrete quantum flashes happening every single second in the silent dark of your mind. Your consciousness is fundamentally tied to the very same quantum mechanics that govern the birth of ancient stars. If human consciousness is mathematically driven by the fundamental quantum fabric of space and time, it suggests something utterly profound about the cosmos itself. It implies that consciousness is not an accidental byproduct of biological evolution, but an intrinsic property of the universe, deeply embedded in reality from the very beginning, right alongside gravity and electromagnetism. The universe might be imbued with a silent, vast proto-consciousness, an ocean of pure awareness that has existed since the primordial dawn of the Big Bang. When the microscopic microtubules in our brains achieve quantum coherence, they are essentially tapping into this universal frequency, temporarily borrowing a tiny drop from the infinite cosmic ocean. You are not a separate, isolated observer looking out at a cold, dead, mechanical universe. You are an intricate, localized antenna, a highly evolved biological instrument through which the ancient cosmos is gently, quietly, looking back at itself in the dark. This vast, comforting understanding completely transforms our terrifying relationship with our own mortality. In the classical biological view, the end of physical life is an absolute terminus. When the electrical activity of the brain ceases, the mind is permanently extinguished, lost forever to the cold void of nothingness. But the sacred, unbreakable laws of quantum physics strictly dictate that quantum information can never be permanently destroyed. The precise history and the profound data of a quantum system must be preserved eternally in the grand cosmic ledger. If your consciousness, your deeply personal soul, is fundamentally a complex quantum structure housed temporarily within the microtubules of your biological brain, what happens when that physical machinery eventually fails? The theory suggests that the exquisite quantum information that makes up your memories and infinite dreams does not simply evaporate. Instead, it slowly, peacefully unbinds from the physical body and leaks back out into the vast tapestry. It disperses, returning to the infinite, silent ocean of universal awareness from which it initially emerged. To die, in this breathtaking quantum view, is not a terrifying erasure, but a magnificent cosmic expansion. You return to the gentle, ancient silence of the universe, forever entangled with the swirling galaxies. As you drift closer to sleep tonight, take deep comfort in the miraculous possibility that your mind is a permanent thread in existence. But if the human mind is eternal, what does this mean for the concept of time itself? Does the future already exist, quietly waiting in the dark? Are the past, present, and future all happening simultaneously in a vast cosmic block? In our next chapter, we will gently challenge the greatest illusion of all, exploring the beautiful physics of timelessness, where beginning and end completely dissolve into a single, infinite now. Have you ever sat quietly by a window, watching the gentle, golden light of a setting sun slowly fade into the deep, encroaching purple of the evening twilight, and felt a profound, almost heartbreaking sense of time slipping irreversibly through your fingers? We are creatures intimately bound to the relentless, marching rhythm of the clock. We experience our lives as a narrow, glowing spotlight, moving steadily along a dark, unyielding track. The past is a collection of ghostly memories, fading photographs, and echoes of laughter that we believe are completely gone, locked away forever in a vault that can never be reopened. The future is an opaque, terrifying mist of unwritten possibilities, a vast unknown that does not yet exist. And the present, this fleeting, microscopic fraction of a second you're experiencing right now, feels like the only tangible reality, the only true moment of existence before it instantly dissolves into the past. We carry the heavy weight of nostalgia for the days we can never return to, and we carry the quiet anxiety of the days that have not yet arrived. It is a deeply ingrained, universally human illusion that provides a necessary structure to our fragile, beautiful lives. But what if the very concept of flowing time is nothing more than a stubborn trick played by our biological minds? What if the universe does not experience the ticking of the clock at all, but instead holds all of eternity within a single, magnificent, and completely silent structure? Before we gently dissolve the grand illusion of the ticking clock and step outside the boundaries of time itself, I want to take a soft, quiet moment to welcome you. I am Theodore, the researcher, your peaceful guide through the vast, infinite mysteries of our beautiful cosmos. I have noticed, with a gentle sense of wonder, that exactly 71% of the beautiful, curious minds who listen to these quiet bedtime stories about the universe have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find deep comfort, intellectual safety, and respectful awe in these nighttime journeys, please consider gently clicking that subscribe button. It helps our quiet community of cosmic explorers grow, and it allows us to continue wandering through the endless silence of space together, seeking comfort in the profound unknowns. Now, please take a deep, slow breath. Let the heavy ticking of the clock in your room fade into the gentle shadows, and let us journey into the awe-inspiring, timeless reality of the block universe. To begin dismantling our intuitive understanding of time, we must return to the revolutionary mind of Albert Einstein in the early decades of the 20th century. Before his elegant mathematical equations rewrote the fundamental rules of reality, humanity viewed time as an absolute, universal metronome, ticking away at the exact same relentless pace for everyone, regardless of where they were in the cosmos or how fast they were moving. It was a comforting framework championed by Sir Isaac Newton, a clockwork universe where a single second on Earth was exactly the same as a single second on the farthest burning star. But Einstein looked deeper into the quiet dark and realized that space and time are not separate stages. They are intimately woven together into a single dynamic fabric known as space-time. This four-dimensional tapestry is beautifully flexible, capable of bending, stretching, and warping under the crushing gravitational weight of massive galaxies. And most profoundly, Einstein discovered that the flow of time is intimately connected to your speed through this cosmic fabric. If you were to board a spacecraft and travel outward into the deep void at speeds approaching the absolute cosmic speed limit of 186,000 miles per second, the ticking of your own personal clock would begin to dramatically slow down relative to the people you left behind on the quiet Earth. This is not a mechanical failure of the clock. It is a fundamental alteration of physical reality itself. If you were to travel at those unimaginable speeds for what felt to you like only a few quiet years, you could eventually return to Earth to find that centuries had passed for the rest of humanity. All the people you once knew and the world you loved would be ancient dust, while you barely aged a single day. This mathematically proven phenomenon, known as time dilation, completely shatters the comforting illusion of a universal, shared present moment. It means that there is absolutely no absolute now that applies to the entire universe simultaneously. Your specific experience of the present moment is completely unique to your perspective, your speed, and your location within the gravitational architecture of the cosmos. If a distant observer sitting in the Andromeda galaxy were to simply walk towards the Milky Way, their subtle change in motion would instantly alter their mathematical slice of space-time, meaning their current present moment could align with the Earth of millions of years ago, when ancient dinosaurs still roamed the silent forests. If they were to turn around and walk slowly away from us, their new present moment would suddenly align with an Earth millions of years in the future, a reality that we have not yet begun to experience. Because the past, the present, and the future can all exist simultaneously. Depending on the relative perspective of the observer, theoretical physicists have proposed a model of reality that completely eliminates the flowing river of time. This awe-inspiring concept is known as the block universe. Imagine, for a quiet moment, that the entire history of the cosmos, from the fiery birth of the Big Bang 14 billion years ago, all the way to the freezing silence of the universe's ultimate end, is contained within a single, unchanging four-dimensional block. Inside this eternal block, every single event that has ever happened, is currently happening, or will ever happen, already exists permanently at its own specific coordinates in space-time. The past is not gone. It is simply located at a different physical position within the block, just as the city of Paris is located at a different geographical position than Tokyo. You do not mourn the disappearance of Paris simply because you're sitting in Tokyo. You know it still exists, quietly resting in its designated location. In the exact same way, your childhood and the days when you were surrounded by loved ones who have since passed away are not erased from physical existence. They are perfectly preserved and permanently woven into the solid fabric of the block universe, quietly resting in the grand architecture of eternity. When we journey down into the absolute, microscopic foundations of reality, exploring the ghostly world of quantum mechanics, this concept of timelessness becomes even more profound. In the late 1960s, physicists attempting to merge the grand laws of general relativity with the unpredictable rules of the quantum realm formulated the incredibly complex Wheeler-DeWitt equation. This mathematical masterpiece aimed to describe the quantum state of the entire universe as a single unified whole. But when the incredibly complex calculations were completed, the scientific community was met with a terrifying revelation. The variable for time had completely vanished from the final equation. At the most foundational level of quantum existence, time simply does not mathematically exist. The universe does not genuinely evolve, it does not physically change, and it certainly does not move forward like a flowing river. It just simply is. The overwhelming sensation of time passing, the relentless march of seconds and hours, is nothing more than a profound, localized illusion generated by our conscious biological minds as we process the sequential slices of the block universe, much like a projector rapidly illuminating individual static frames of a film reel to create the illusion of flowing motion. The film reel itself, containing the entire movie from the opening scene to the final credits, exists all at once in its absolute entirety. This staggering scientific reality offers a deep sense of existential peace. It removes the terrifying sting of mortality and the heavy sorrow of permanent loss. The souls you have loved and lost are not truly gone. They are simply located at a different set of space-time coordinates, living out their finite lives within the eternal block. You are not a fleeting spark destined to be swallowed by the cold dark. Your entire life, from your first gentle breath to your last, is a permanent, indestructible feature of the cosmos, a solid sculpture carved into the eternal gallery of existence. We are eternal beings experiencing the magnificent illusion of sequence, gently exploring a universe that was completely finished before we even arrived on the cosmic stage. But if the entire history of the universe is already written and permanently frozen in this grand, silent block, what does that mean for our deeply held belief in human agency and free will? Are we simply conscious automatons, helplessly watching a pre-recorded movie of our own lives play out in the dark without any real choice? Or is there a hidden loophole in the rigid architecture of cosmic destiny? In our next chapter, we will dive into the terrifying conflict between cosmic determinism and the beautiful chaos of quantum uncertainty, exploring whether the universe knows what you are going to do before you choose. Have you ever stood at a quiet crossroads in your life, feeling the heavy, immense weight of a difficult decision pressing down upon your shoulders, and wondered if the choice you are about to make is truly your own? We cherish our sense of freedom above almost everything else. We wake up every single morning believing with absolute, unshakable certainty that the unwritten day ahead is a blank canvas, patiently waiting for us to paint it with our unique, individual decisions. We choose our paths, we choose our words, and we choose the people we love, feeling deeply that our conscious minds are the sovereign authors of our own destinies. It is a profoundly beautiful and necessary belief, the very foundation of human morality, personal responsibility, and the quiet dignity of our daily existence. But as we peer deeply into the cold, majestic mathematics of the cosmos, this intuitive sense of absolute freedom begins to gently unravel, exposing a terrifying philosophical abyss. If the universe is governed by strict, unbreakable physical laws, and if the entire history of reality is already permanently etched into the four-dimensional architecture of the block universe, then does true choice actually exist at all? Or are we simply sleepwalking through a predetermined cosmic script, feeling the illusion of freedom while merely acting out roles that were written in the dark billions of years before we were even born? Before we wander further into this labyrinth of destiny and untangle the invisible threads of cosmic determinism, I want to take a soft, gentle moment to welcome you. I am Theodore, the researcher, your quiet companion on this infinite journey through the profound mysteries of space. I have noticed, with a gentle sense of wonder, that exactly 71% of the beautiful, curious minds who listen to these quiet bedtime stories about the universe have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find deep comfort, intellectual safety, and respectful awe in these nighttime explorations, please consider gently clicking that subscribe button. It helps our quiet community of cosmic explorers grow, and it allows us to continue wandering through the endless silence of the cosmos together, seeking comfort in the profound unknowns. Now, please take a deep, slow breath. Let the heavy burdens of your daily choices fade into the gentle shadows, and let us confront the terrifying, magnificent machinery of destiny. To grasp the scale of this threat to free will, we journey back to the French mathematician Pierre-Simon Laplace. Over 2 centuries ago, he proposed a thought experiment known as Laplace's demon. He imagined a supreme intellect that knew the precise location and momentum of every single atom in the universe, at one frozen moment. By perfectly applying the rigid laws of classical physics, this infinite mind could mathematically calculate the exact state of the universe at any point in the future and perfectly reconstruct any moment in the ancient past. For this supreme intellect, the future would be just as clear and undeniably present as the past. If we live in this perfectly deterministic universe, the implications are profoundly unsettling. It mathematically implies that the exact chemical reactions in your brain right now and the choices you believe you're freely making were entirely predetermined by the initial conditions of the universe 14 billion years ago, when the primordial singularity violently expanded in the Big Bang, sending particles rushing out into the expanding dark. The chaotic trajectory of every single one of those particles was set into unchangeable motion. The fact that you are sitting here, breathing softly in the quiet darkness, would not be a matter of your own free choice. It would simply be the inevitable result of atoms colliding in an unbroken chain of cause and effect. In this mechanical view, you are merely a highly complex biological domino, tumbling silently in the vast, empty theater of the cosmos. This rigid, clockwork vision of reality held absolute sway over the scientific community for generations. But in the early 20th century, as scientists peered deeper into the microscopic foundations of matter, they discovered a bizarre realm that completely shattered Laplexi's cosmic machine. They discovered the miraculous world of quantum mechanics, uncovering a fundamental law of nature that guarantees the universe can never be perfectly predictable. This magnificent revelation is known as Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. He mathematically proved that it is physically impossible to simultaneously know both the exact position and the exact momentum of a subatomic particle. The more precisely you try to measure where a tiny electron is, the less you can possibly know about where it is going. And conversely, the more you know about its speed, the blurrier its physical location becomes. The universe, at its most basic, foundational level, is inherently blurry and completely undefined. It flatly refuses to be pinned down into a state of absolute, rigid certainty. Because of this built-in quantum fuzziness, the supreme intellect of Laplace's demon is mathematically impossible. No entity, no matter how infinitely powerful or divinely intelligent, could ever know the exact state of the universe at any given moment, because that exact state simply does not exist. The fundamental building blocks of reality do not follow strict, predictable paths. They exist in a shimmering, probabilistic haze of infinite potential. They only make their final, unpredictable choices at the exact fraction of a second they interact with the rest of the world. This terrifying and beautiful quantum chaos is the ultimate destroyer of absolute determinism. It introduces a profound, inescapable element of pure, unadulterated chance into the grand cosmic equations. But does this microscopic, quantum randomness actually save our cherished concept of human free will? This is where the quiet mystery of the mind deepens into a profound philosophical paradox. If our thoughts and decisions are merely the result of random quantum fluctuations bubbling up in the microscopic architecture of our brains, are we truly free? Randomness is not the same thing as conscious choice. If your actions are dictated by the unpredictable, chaotic roll of cosmic dice, you are no more the author of your own destiny than if you were a mechanical cog in a deterministic machine. Being a slave to random quantum noise feels just as terrifying and isolating as being a slave to rigid mathematical fate. The answer to this profound dilemma might patiently lie in a beautiful, hidden synthesis between the rigid structure of the macrocosmos and the unpredictable freedom of the quantum realm. True free will might operate in the delicate, highly complex boundary layer, where quantum potential mathematically collapses into physical reality. If consciousness is fundamentally a quantum process, it means that the human mind does not simply passively observe the collapse of quantum probabilities. It actively participates in selecting them. Your conscious will might be the very force that reaches down into the microscopic realm and chooses which specific reality to pull out of the infinite sea of potential. You are not a helpless biological machine, nor are you a random generator of chaotic noise. You are a localized, highly focused point of cosmic awareness, actively navigating the vast, shimmering landscape of probability. Every time you make a conscious choice, no matter how small, you are quite literally performing a miracle. You are forcing the universe to abandon its state of infinite potential and commit to a single, concrete reality. You are actively writing the ongoing story of existence, participating in a continuous, magnificent act of cosmic creation. This awe-inspiring realization restores the quiet dignity of human existence. The universe is not a dead, predetermined script playing out in the dark. It is a living, interactive masterpiece that requires your active participation to exist. The choices you make, the love you share, and the quiet moments of wonder you experience are not meaningless illusions. They are the mechanism by which the cosmos explores its own infinite potential. We are the universe waking up in the dark. But if human consciousness has the divine power to shape physical reality, what does that mean for the ultimate origin of the universe itself? Did the cosmos require a grand, ultimate observer to collapse its initial state of infinite probability into the Big Bang? In our next chapter, we will gently turn our gaze toward the very beginning of time, exploring the controversial anthropic principle and facing the terrifying possibility that the entire 14 billion year history of the universe was purposefully designed from the very beginning with you in mind. Have you ever walked alone through a quiet, ancient forest as the first gentle rays of dawn pierce through the thick canopy, illuminating the delicate, intricate veins of a single, fallen leaf, and found yourself entirely overwhelmed by the staggering, impossible perfection of it all? We wander through our daily lives completely surrounded by miracles of engineering that we mistakenly brush off as mere coincidence. We accept the precise rhythmic beating of our hearts, the exact nurturing distance of the sun, and the delicate chemical balance of the air we breathe as if they were simple, guaranteed rights of existence. We look at the universe as a massive, chaotic lottery, believing that humanity is simply the lucky winner of a cosmic coin toss, an accidental spark of biology that miraculously ignited in a cold, dead, and indifferent void. But what if this deeply ingrained assumption of our own cosmic insignificance is the greatest illusion we have ever constructed? What if the universe is not an accidental, chaotic explosion of blind matter, but rather an incredibly precise, mathematically perfect architecture that knew from the very first fraction of a second of its explosive birth that you were coming? Before we gently unravel the final, terrifyingly beautiful secret of our infinite journey together, I want to take a soft, quiet moment to welcome you one last time. I am Theodore, the researcher, your peaceful companion through the vast, dark mysteries of our cosmos. I have noticed, with a gentle sense of wonder, that exactly 71% of the beautiful, curious minds who listen to these quiet bedtime stories about the universe have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you have found deep comfort, intellectual safety, and respectful awe in our nighttime explorations, please consider gently clicking that subscribe button. It helps our quiet community of cosmic explorers grow, and it allows us to continue wondering at the ancient stars together, seeking solace in the profound, endless silence. Now, please take a deep, slow breath. Let the heavy weight of the world completely fade into the gentle shadows, and let us face the magnificent, undeniable mind of the cosmos. When modern astrophysicists look back through the deep, silent corridors of time, all the way to the unimaginably hot, dense crucible of the Big Bang nearly 14 billion years ago, they encounter a mathematical reality so incredibly precise that it makes the sharpest human minds tremble with a profound, respectful humility. The physical reality we inhabit is governed by a specific set of fundamental numbers known as the physical constants. These include the exact strength of gravity, the precise mass of a tiny electron, the specific power of the electromagnetic force, and the incredibly delicate balance of the strong and weak nuclear forces that hold the microscopic hearts of atoms together. For decades, scientists naturally assumed that these numbers were simply random, arbitrary values generated by the chaotic fire of the universe's violent birth. But as our supercomputers grew more advanced and our mathematical models of the cosmos became infinitely more sophisticated, a terrifying and awe-inspiring pattern began to emerge from the cold data. Researchers discovered that if you were to reach into the foundational machinery of the universe and gently twist the dial on any one of these fundamental constants by even the most microscopic, incomprehensibly tiny fraction, the entire physical structure of reality would violently and irreversibly collapse into absolute nothingness. The universe is delicately balanced on a mathematical razor's edge. Consider, for a quiet moment, the gentle but relentless force of gravity that is currently holding you safely to your chair. If the gravitational constant had been even 1/1,000,000 of a billionth of a percent stronger at the exact moment of the universe's birth, the primordial expansion would have been rapidly overpowered by its own crushing weight. The entire cosmos would have instantly collapsed back in on itself in a catastrophic, silent crunch, long before the first ancient stars ever had a chance to ignite in the dark. Conversely, if gravity had been weaker by that exact same infinitesimal fraction, the primordial gases would have expanded far too rapidly into the freezing void. The vital matter would have been spread so thin and so incredibly fast that the gentle cosmic dust would have never been able to gather, pool together, and ignite into the magnificent, swirling galaxies we see today. The universe would be a completely empty, freezing, and infinitely dark ocean of disconnected particles. And this terrifying precision is not just limited to gravity. If the strong nuclear force, which binds the microscopic protons and neutrons together, were just 2% stronger, the delicate fusion processes that power the stars would burn so incredibly fast that every single sun in the universe would have exhausted its fuel billions of years ago, leaving nothing but cold, dead cinders floating in the eternal night. If it were slightly weaker, the universe would contain absolutely nothing but hydrogen, making the complex chemistry of biology mathematically impossible. This staggering mathematical perfection led brilliant physicists to propose the anthropic principle, a controversial and deeply philosophical framework that suggests the universe is the way it is precisely because we are here to observe it. But when we combine this mind-bending concept with the terrifying revelations of quantum mechanics, that we have explored together on this journey, we arrive at a destination that completely shatters our traditional understanding of God and reality. Remember the legendary physicist John Archibald Wheeler and his delayed choice quantum eraser experiment, which conclusively proved that a fundamental particle exists as a blurry wave of infinite probability until a conscious mind demands to measure it. Wheeler took this microscopic revelation and scaled it up to the size of the entire cosmos, formulating what he called the participatory anthropic principle. He proposed that the universe did not simply expand in the dark, perfectly tuned by accident, waiting billions of years for consciousness to randomly evolve. Instead, he mathematically suggested that the very existence of the universe itself fundamentally requires a conscious observer to actualize it. In this breathtaking view, the cosmos existed in a state of unresolved, infinite quantum potential, a swirling haze of every possible physical reality, right up until the exact moment a conscious mind opened its eyes to look at it. The act of observation did not just collapse the quantum wave of a single photon. It reached backward through 14 billion years of time to retroactively collapse the entire universe into its perfectly tuned physical form. This is the ultimate, terrifying, and magnificently beautiful revelation that quantum theory offers us about the nature of God and the universe. The divine architect is not a distant, localized entity sitting outside of space and time, turning mechanical dials in the dark to create a perfect habitat for biological machines. The divine is the fundamental, infinite architecture of consciousness itself, deeply woven into the very fabric of the quantum void. The universe is a vast, self-actualizing loop. The cosmos created the intricate biological machinery of our minds so that it could have a localized perspective from which to observe itself. And by observing itself, it collapsed its own infinite probability into physical existence. We are not small, accidental strangers wandering blindly through a cold, indifferent, and dangerous cosmos. We are the precise, mathematical mechanism by which the universe ensures its own reality. Every single time you look up in quiet wonder at the night sky, every time you feel the profound, aching beauty of a shared moment with another conscious soul, and every time you seek to understand the quiet mysteries of the dark, you are performing a sacred cosmic function. You are the universe acknowledging its own majestic existence. The mysteries we have gently explored together, from the ghostly behavior of entangled particles to the silent, crushing depths of supermassive black holes, and the infinite branching realities of the multiverse, are not puzzles to be definitively solved and filed away. They are gentle invitations to continuous wonder. The fact that the universe becomes stranger, more deeply interconnected, and more profoundly mysterious the closer we look, is the greatest gift of all. It guarantees that our journey of discovery is truly infinite. There will never be a final boring chapter where all the secrets are perfectly known and the grand adventure comes to an abrupt halt. The unknown is not a terrifying shadow to be feared. It is the warm, comforting space where human curiosity and divine mystery gently embrace. As you drift toward sleep tonight, carry this profound, quiet truth with you into your dreams. You are intimately connected to the ancient stars. You are a necessary and vital component of the cosmic architecture. And your conscious mind is the very heartbeat of reality. Our shared journey through the dark does not end here. It simply transforms, opening new, infinite paths for us to gently explore together. May you find deep, lasting peace in the vast silence of the cosmos, and may your sense of wonder guide you safely through the infinite night.